Hello everybody and welcome to Artwolf Digs Gaming. This is Warhammer the End Time Vermintide. It's based off the Warhammer fantasy universe which takes place during the end times where chaos pretty much decides to destroy the entire world. This game is a third-person shooter, slicer, similar to Left 4 Dead, with the focus being on melee. You get 5 characters, of which 4 can be played at once. It's a co-op game, but unfortunately due to my internet I won't be able to upload any good online footage for a while. I am playing as the soldier, which is a human character. He wields large weapons such as great swords and great hammers, that type of thing. And the aim of the game is pretty much to get to the end of the level, basically like Left 4 Dead. You fight Skaven, which are bipedal rat men, corrupted by chaos, and they pretty much take over the entire town of Ubersreich, where the game is set. The game plays out a lot like Left 4 Dead in the sense that each map is sort of its own mission, and it forms a story of the party of survivors, or these adventurers. There's a dwarf who he's pretty much a tanky guy with a shield and axe or hammer, and the dwarves have a lot of pretty cool gunpowder weapons. There's an assassin rat, which it's called the Gutter Runner. It's one of the Skaven clans which basically learned how to be ninjas, and it replaces the Left 4 Dead hunter. This game is very much, I'd say it's a Left 4 Dead clone, although that's not a bad thing at all. It's a really fun game, especially for co-op. And it's also quite original in the sense that it's more hack and slash than actual shooting. There are firearms. The soldier, for instance, has a musket as well as a coach gun, which is sort of a shotgun. I enjoy using the musket because it's pretty good at taking out special rats. Right now there's a vermin swarm coming. It's usually signaled by a horn or the sound of Skaven shouting for an ambush or something. And you pretty much get swarmed by these pink little rats. They're called slave rats. And in the tabletop version, which the game is based off, it's based off the tabletop game, which is played using models and stuff. That's a Rattling Gunner, pretty much a Gatling gun carried by a big rat. Anyway, the tabletop version, the slave rats could be used to tie down enemies, and then you could literally shoot through them with things like the Rattling gun or catapults, that type of thing. So the Skaven really don't give a crap about the slave rats. If you get bogged down by a lot of slave rats, you can get hurt pretty bad, but they're not too tough to take care of, especially with this greatsword. The Skaven I shot earlier now, that's called a Storm Vermin. It's pretty much like a sergeant type rat. It's got a halberd and it's heavily armored, so especially with a blade weapon, it's not great for chopping through armor. That's why I prefer taking them out by range. You can hear the specials from the sounds they make, just like in Left 4 Dead. For instance, now there's definitely a gas rat somewhere. A poison wind globadier. Pretty much what they do, there it is. Pretty much what they do is they lob these, there's another. They lob these poison balls which make a gas cloud. Now, it hurts both the heroes as well as Skaven. So sometimes it can be a blessing in disguise when you're fighting a swarm of pinkies, like slave rats I mean. But yeah, it's probably one of the most annoying specials out there. Taking care of them early on, especially if you're in cramped quarters, is definitely a priority. So the missions are pretty linear. You have set paths. There are different routes on that path, so you can make different strategic decisions based on what the path forward looks like. Sometimes you'll encounter storm vermin in higher numbers on one path, but it's all pretty much randomized. You could have a run where you get like no specials. That was a loot die, it upped your chance for loot. I'll explain the loot later in the video. You can get runs where you literally get 1 or 2 special rats and you get through the run pretty quickly and easily. Then you can get runs where 5 or 6 special rats spawn at the same time and they just swamp you. It's absolutely horrible when that happens, but like I said, it's all random and you never know what type of run you're going to get. This game is definitely best played with friends. The bots are, well, not as stupid as, say, Payday's bots. These bots aren't great either. They do, however, come in handy for healing you, raising you, and pretty much soaking up damage. That's what the bots are mainly for, is damage sponsors. The storm vermin. Sometimes the storm vermins form up patrols. Those you would rather avoid, because definitely it's not. How did that get in there? Anyway, storm vermin patrols, not something you want to take on head on. Tome ups your chances for better loot as well. In the end, there'll be a loot screen in the end, and I'll explain everything briefly there. I like how the Warhammer world is, the Empire is pretty much Germany. It's really cool, especially since I have studied a bit of German. So all the German names and that, pretty interesting. The rattling guns, like you saw there, once they start firing, it's absolute nightmare to take care of them. So it's best to just stand off to one side and wait for them to empty their clip. They pretty much fire, it's called warpstone. It's concentrated chaos energy in a mineral form, and their bullets are made from this warpstone. But Skaven are warpstone obsessed. Pretty much everything the Skaven do has to do with warpstone. I mean, they use it as drugs, and they use it as fuel, as power, as ammunition, everything. The Skaven are a really weird bunch. The lore on them is really interesting. They've got several different clans specializing in, for instance, Clan Pestilence specializes in plague and disease. Clan Skyr specializes in engineering. They are the ones who make the rattling guns and the globadiers. So pretty much engineering and chemical warfare. Here's a lot of Skaven coming out of the tunnel, ambushing me. The Skaven, what they like to do is, before an invasion, there's... Okay, well, firstly, the Empire doesn't believe the Skaven exists. Pretty much only the higher up know, like the witch hunters and some of the lords, that type of thing, know of Skaven. But the general populace is like taught to believe not to. They don't really believe in Skaven. It's a myth. Sorry about that. Had a quick sneeze attack. The Skaven, what they do is they stay in the sewers and that. They've got an under-empire. Pretty much, they have an empire stretching throughout the entire old world, underground. And they don't really come out much, but when they do launch an invasion, they stay in the sewers, and all of a sudden they just start emerging by the thousands. And they pretty much overrun towns within a few hours. That's what's been happening in Ubersreich. The townspeople, especially this mission, we have to warn the town because most of the militia have been killed. Later on, you'll find out that there are pockets of resistance. For instance, the Dwarven Quarter, where the Dwarven Smiths and that stay, they are mounting a pretty stiff resistance. There's a certain hill where the militia are holed up and fighting back. Pretty much most of the town is either dead, overrun, or in hiding, and with a few pockets of resistance. The heroes, which are playable, are one of the smallest pockets of resistance in the town. They are hiding out in one of the inns. I think it's called the Red Moon. I can't exactly remember right now. But the story sort of starts with them meeting up by chance. They have to take the same coach through town for some reason, and then the whole thing happens, and it's just a complete shitstorm. But they sort of get forced to work together. And for instance, the wizard and the witch hunter, which isn't seen in this video, they don't quite get along, because the witch hunter was actually escorting the witch to be sentenced or to be sent to an inquisition, because witches, well, not witches, mages and that type of thing are not really trusted. So they have quite interesting conversations. The dwarf is pretty jolly. He likes to drink. I hate assassin rats. These guys pounce on you and then they start stabbing you with these poison blades. Well, it's warpstone blades. Yet another thing they use warpstone for is their assassin blades. Yeah, the elf is quite distrustful. I'm getting a lot of specials in this run. The wizard, I don't know, she just likes to burn things. She's a bit crazy. The soldier is generally in a good mood all around, and he likes fighting. He's not a bad fellow. But the interactions between the characters are quite interesting, sometimes quite hilarious. What they say to each other, the comments they make. The dwarf would call out the soldier for stealing kills, that type of thing. It's quite funny. But it brings a bit of life to the game. This is definitely one of my top games to co-op, especially with friends, like chilling at a LAN or something, because then you can physically talk to the guy and you can make jokes and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. But so the whole point of this mission is to get to Magnus Tower, where there's a massive horn, which has to be blown to signal an invasion. And obviously the defenders over there have been completely overrun, since there hasn't been any warning so far. The Skaven here mostly are just regular clan rats. They're second weakest. They're like the zombies in Left 4 Dead, the regular zombies. And they don't pose much of a threat unless they actually overwhelm you. On higher difficulties, everything absolutely hurts. I'm playing it on normal because I'm playing with bots. I would rather not be stuck playing very hard or Nightmare or something. That is a rat ogre. It is literally a massive rat which has been put on warpstone steroids, and body parts have been sewn on. This one's actually pretty nice looking. Some of the rat ogres and the other things that are made by, I think it's Clan Molder that makes these mutants. Some of the things they make are really disgusting. There's one called an abomination, which is, as the name suggests, it's very much an abomination. It's literally just body parts. This thing can barely drag itself forward, and it's absolutely disgusting. They then hire out these rat ogres, abominations, all kinds of mutants and freaks to warlords and Skaven like leaders. Then they use them as bodyguards and as cannon fodder, that type of thing. Yeah, the Skaven are a pretty varied bunch. Like I said, they've got Skaven specializing in plague, they've got Skaven specializing in engineering, chemical warfare, mutants, that type of thing. Yeah, the Skaven are actually pretty terrifying, but they are also a really cool race. Also quite original. The whole inherently evil type race like this, it's like Skaven live to just ruin everything. They are very evil creatures. Going through the inn over here, I should be close to the main tower. Got healed by one of the bots. Thank goodness. That took quite a while. I was on low fumes from the rat ogre still. So throughout the level there are lore book pages stashed, which you unlock lore pages which gives you an idea of the background of the game, background of the Warhammer universe if you do not know much about it. There are different secret rooms and areas where you can find more tomes. There are books called grimoires which lower your health but up your rewards. It's really sometimes these things are really well hidden and take some exploring, which is quite fun. Up front there's the Magnus Tower. You can see that massive structure right in front of the moon. The moon, by the way, is the second moon called Moore's Leap, which is pretty much made out of warpstone, if I remember correctly. And at one stage in the end times, the Skaven managed to pull the moon into the planet, or into the world, the old world. And I'm not a big follower of the end times lore, but I think that played a massive part in bringing about the end of the world. At the moment, there's storm vermin patrol, which the bots seem to really want to draw to us. They don't have a very good line of sight, thank goodness, but once they see you, you pretty much get swarmed by, I think there's like 8 storm vermin in that party or more. There's no point in fighting them except for satisfaction. They will wreck your day. Pretty much what usually happens is you lob a couple of bombs in at the same time and hope everyone dies without you having to fight them, actually. We're just cleaning up this part of the roof to get move forward. Some more specials spawning. I haven't actually had a strangler rat yet. They're called packmasters, and they are the Left 4 Dead equivalent of smokers. They have this weird hook thing which they grab you around the neck with, and then they end up hanging you from it. Not a nice way to go, but they're probably the worst of the specials in this game. So far I've had the rattling guns, I've had the gutter runner, the assassin rat, and globadiers. Oh, and of course the rat ogre. I think I might be forgetting something, but yeah, there you can see most of the city is in flames. There's a lot of screaming and shots fired and stuff going around. This game is really good looking. The backgrounds and that type of thing really convey the scale. I keep hearing specials, but sometimes they're in different areas. Like the gutter runner I'm hearing might be down below where we just came from. I don't know. I just don't like. I especially don't like gutter runners. If you do split up from your group, the chances of a gutter runner or a packmaster grabbing you are pretty damn high. Really not ideal, because the group has to go back. Sometimes you can't go back, and it's just overall it's terrible. Storm vermin, again, they're not too bad, but I prefer not getting hit by them. They really hit like a truck. So we're almost at the top of the tower. Rather have explosive. You can get explosive or flame bombs, which explosive works good against armor. Flame bombs work good against hordes of unarmored enemies. So if you get swarmed by the slave rats, for instance, you would most likely have a flame. Yeah, you'd most likely be using flame. Another cool thing about rattling guns is you can, if there's a swarm, you can sort of get the swarm to come around a corner where the rattling gun is firing, and the rattling gun will just mow down his own Skaven. The Skaven have no regard for each other. In the tabletop, if I remember correctly, they are one of the only armies that you can actually fire weapons into your combat. Hitting your own troops mostly, but definitely dealing some damage to the enemies as well. In the new Total War Warhammer, I'm hoping they bring that into the game, because currently in Total War Warhammer, which I'll probably make a video later of that, if you have units in melee and you've got archers or muskets or something behind them, they won't shoot into your own units. They'll try and shoot over them, but most of the time they'll just stand there and do nothing. Aim for something else probably, or most of the time literally do nothing, which is a bit of a bummer. I'm hoping Skaven are allowed to shoot into their own units, obviously dealing a lot of damage to your own units, but hopefully dealing a lot of damage to the enemy as well. So blowing the horn, this sort of signals the final part of the mission. Now I have to survive the Skaven, which they usually, on normal difficulty it probably won't be too terrible, but on higher difficulties it gets really hectic. They get tons of specials and storm vermin, and the last game I played with one of my pals, we absolutely breezed through the whole mission, and then at this point we completely failed because of the storm vermin. We had like 5 storm vermin pop out at the same time. But this part is usually not too terrible. There used to be exploits where you could stand in a certain corner and you'd be able to survive anything, but they fixed that, which is good. I really dislike exploits, and I personally very rarely use them. I have used them, but I hate them. Anyway, moving on swiftly. This is pretty much just hack and slash, survive your way, survive throughout the waves. Hopefully nothing big spawns. We shouldn't get another rat ogre. There's usually only one rat ogre per run. But a rattling gun right now wouldn't be great. Globadier isn't great, but if some of their own rats run through the poison, it's pretty good for us. Yeah, we should almost be done. This usually lasts a few minutes, where you literally just have to survive, kill a lot of Skaven, and just wait for the way to open up. If I remember correctly, yeah, it should... Ooh, the dwarf just went down. He's been helped up again, but getting surrounded here. Someone killed the Globadier, thank goodness. When you get down, you enter like a bleeding state where you bleed out slowly. So eventually you'll end up with literally 1 health, and that's definitely not ideal. My sword is one of the orange rarities. There's different rarities. I've got for the second last rarest weapon, or rarest rarity. I mean, all the weapons have the same rarity types. I'm just gonna clear this platform. The sword I have has a healing trait where if you hit something, you've got like a 10% chance to heal a little bit of health, which is really handy. And if you're bleeding out, it does help a lot, because if you're bleeding out and you get some health, it stops the bleeding out. Here comes the exit. Just made the way for the exit. Oh, there's a Packmaster. I didn't even notice it. It didn't do anything really. I think I might have hit it in the maelstrom, like just swinging my sword. So this final part of the mission, pretty much, usually there's nothing bad here, but sometimes there are special Skaven that spawn here. I've had rattling guns spawn and just mow me down here at the end, which is really annoying. But yeah, that is Vermintide, first mission. So the loot works, you get loot die, you can pick up better die, or you can carry a tome for a better dice. And it's very much RNG, which is a bit of a pain, but you'll see in a sec. You literally roll a couple of dice and you get a certain weapon loadout on the right, which if you roll high enough you can get the higher weapons. It's easy to understand once you see it. But yeah, while this is going on, I would like to thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button, and if you would like to see more, please subscribe. Let me know what you would like to see next. I do plan on doing some Total War Warhammer and that type of thing. But yeah, thank you for watching. Bye bye!